Hey guys, I just started to play a 45-45 against wmknight on fix. He's one of my usual sparring buddies, and he's got the white pieces. And the game started e4, and I played d6, which isn't usually the kind of thing that I play. Usually I play the Sicilians, but I was looking for something a little unusual to see how he'd handle it. And kind of the idea that I'll try to trick him into playing a d-pawn opening and to see whether or not he's comfortable or not. So he played 2d4, and then I played g6, c4, bishop g7, knight f3, and I played c5. So we have some kind of a Benoni structure, and it's not at all that I think White's position is bad. I think White's position is perfectly reasonable. But I want to see how he handles it, because he's primarily an e4 player. Now, he does play exactly this kind of a position from the black side. He's been playing a lot of kingside fianchettos, and combined with c5. And I think that it's very similar to a lot of the dragon formations. A lot of similar themes and ideas come up. So what are some of White's major options? Well, if he plays knight c3, I play cd4, and after knight takes d4, we have a Maroczy bind, and that's just fine. I'm comfortable with that. If he plays d5, we have a modern Benoni line where White's already played knight f3 and can't play some of the nastier lines involving f4. And also White can play dc, and I don't think dc is really a great way to play for an advantage, but Black has to decide whether or not he wants to play a quick ending by recapturing dc, or whether or not he wants to give up time and play queen a5 check and then take on c5. But with my bishop on g7, it wouldn't be so bad, because he couldn't really play knight c3, because I can just play bishop takes c3. Anyway, so he plays d5. So we're going to play a Benoni line, and I like the fact that he can't continue with f4. So if instead of knight f3 he had say knight c3 in, then here f4 would be a pretty serious line. And I mean, there's theory there, but I find that Black's position gets very uncomfortable. So here probably the main variation is knight c3. And then after ed, White usually takes cd. He can recapture with the e pawn, and that's okay. But I think White's best chance for an advantage is to let Black play ed5 and then play cd5, and then start figuring out how he's going to play e5 himself to break in the center. Because after I play ed, he can have the extra center pawn by playing cd. That's kind of the idea of playing that way. It's not unreasonable for him to play de here, and I'll take back with the bishop, and I have like the backward d pawn on the semi-open file, and that's sort of Black's key weakness. But on the other hand, I have quick fluid development, so I mean it's a trade-off. Knight c3, very reasonable. And here I'm going to play ed. So CD is the main move. ED is okay, but is more balanced. Knight d5 looks a little weird. Probably I'll just challenge and trade the knight on d5 very quickly. And I think queen d5 is probably just trash. Loses too much time after knight f6. In these systems, usually black has already played knight f6, and I wonder how that changes things. I suppose one disadvantage of opting for a system that neither one of us plays very often is that I'm only familiar with very little bit of the opening theory here. Yeah, so the similar position that I need to compare this with arises from d4, knight f6, c4, e6, say knight c3, c5, and then after d5, ed. Now he's taken with a knight, and I'm not sure about this. My impression is that this is too quick to occupy the d5 square with a piece, and the reason why I think that might be suspect is that how is he going to respond when I challenge the knight directly? So if I play something like bishop e6, I'm not sure what he's going to play. You see that if I play knight f6, he might try bishop g5. But bishop e6, I'm just not sure what his follow-up might be. Yep, okay, I think I'm going to play bishop e6, and I think it's quite reasonable that I might take on d5, and if he takes back with the queen, she might just get herself hit with a knight f6 at some point. Don't know that it would necessarily be my next move, because I think b7 is loose, but maybe I play a move like queen d7 or something like that. also not sure what the future is of the bishop on f1. What should that guy be doing? Yeah, maybe instead of bishop e6 I should have had more of a look at just trying to dominate the d4 square directly. I don't think bishop e6 is bad, but I might not like the loss of flexibility. You know, now if I want to play bg4 at some point, I have to spend an extra tempo. Okay, so not sure what the idea of rook b1 is. Let's see what it does. It supports a b4 push. It gets off of the long diagonal, so that if he wants to play b3 or b4, the rook's not loose, but it also hangs the pawn on a2. I don't know that I want to go grabbing it, but maybe I do. Queen a5, bishop d2, and queen a2. Oops, knight c7. Right, so that's not so good for me. So I think here I should just develop normally, and knight c6 looks good. Looks like the natural square for the knight. It also hits b4, and d4 looks like a really important square, so I think I can quickly play knight c6. So even though white has occupied the hole on d5, and it is a nice square, I'm not sure that white can keep a piece on d5, because I think I'm always going to be threatening to just a take on d5, and you know, he can only take back with the queen for the moment, and she's going to lose time, and maybe I can even challenge the d5 square again first. And right now it's just one pretty piece, and I'm not sure what his follow-up is. White hasn't solved getting his king tucked away on the king side. I don't think there was any chance that he was ever going to castle queenside, so I don't think rook b1 is significant in terms of losing queenside castling privileges, but I don't know, it does feel just slightly slow, and if white doesn't get down to business and get at least one of those bishops out now, I think maybe I'll be able to say that black has an advantage, but I don't think white's going to waste any time here. I don't think my move like a3 is in the cards here. It seems just a little too reckless to me. Okay, b3. Now this move feels very funny to me because sort of all it does is sets up to challenge the dark squared bishop, and although that yeah, my dark squared bishop is a nice piece, but like, it's a nice piece in the sense that it attacks many squares, but none of the squares, maybe only, you know, none of the queenside squares are that big of a deal. You know, the fact that I'm not sure that trading my dark squared bishop is the right idea for white. For one thing, after b3, I'm not sure which one of us has weaker dark squares. It might be white. Now, I do have to be careful about my weak pawn on d6, but in many ways, my position is like I think it's a pelican, is what it's called, a pelican Sicilian, where black has got a weird e5 push in the center to grab central space and quick development at the cost of a backward d pawn on a semi-open file. I don't know that my d6 pawn is that big of a deal here, anyway. And I'm wondering about just playing knight f6, because now, like bg5, I can answer with queen a5. Yeah, that makes me wonder. Knight f6, bishop g5, queen a5 check. I guess he might have to go back to bishop d2. And have I made progress? Not really, because then my queen still has to defend c7. Well, I could play knight f6 and on bishop g5 I could play bishop takes knight. Not sure where that's heading. Not really so worried about him playing bishop g5, pinning my knight on f6. More worried about his bishop ending up on the b2, b8, h2 diagonal and working my weak d6. I do feel like I should be castling really soon. I think that in a lot of the lines I could even give up the d6 pawn if white wants to invest all of his time in trying to grab it right now. For example, knight f6, bishop b2, castles. And he takes on f6 twice, and then he takes on d6. Maybe there I swing a rook to the d file, and if he can have my c5 pawn as well, but I think that might be getting suicidal for him, because I get queen c3 check, and maybe I get knight d4, knight b4, and looking pretty scary. So I think here I'll just play knight f6. Not really worried about bishop g5 or bishop to b2. Now, one of the main reasons why he would want to exchange my dark squared bishops is if it was really menacing. And here It's not. I mean, okay, it helps me control d4, but that doesn't feel critical. And another reason why he might want to exchange my dark squared bishop is I'm going to castle short, and if he was going to conduct a direct attack against my king, the bishop is one of my best defenders. Bishop e2, just hanging the e4 pawn. Wow. That's pretty spicy. If I take on e4 and he castles, I mean, the bishop being on e2 in particular clogs the e-files, so it's not like he gets quick activity. Knight takes e4, queen d3. Yeah, maybe that is a point. Knight c3. And then his rook has to step into a discovered attack. That's not so good. Knight e4. Castles. You can't have compensation for it that way. Knight e4, bishop d3. Just saying he's giving me a pawn. No, because I have knight c3 there. Yep, so after knight e4, he has to play a move like bishop b2. It's kind of the only reasonable move. But then there, maybe I just play bishop takes bishop. Yep, I think we're going to find out, because it doesn't look like there's going to be enough here. Knight e4, bishop b2. Bishop b2, rook b2. Maybe I could even play... Oh, I confused myself. I was mixing the fact that I can take on d5 with the fact that I already had, and that's inconsistent. So just a minute ago I had said something was bad, but I'm not sure that it was. Knight e4, and I said he can't make a move like something because I have knight c3. Bishop d3, but in fact maybe he can. No, because there I can play bishop takes knight on d5, and he's blocked the line of the queen. And if he plays cd5, then I can play knight c3, no problem. Knight e4, bishop b2. That really, bishop b2 feels like is the most natural. And maybe the reason why it feels natural is because it helps him double on what will be the only open file, right? After bishop takes b2, rook takes b2, that rook can come to e2. So he has ideas like castle short, rook fe1, rook be2, and try to slam things down the e-file, or even the rook can go from b2 to d2 and work my weak d6 pawn. Okay, knight e4. So now I'm up a pawn, and I know I may have to suffer some for it, but I just don't see that I have to suffer enough. I think the worst case scenario is that I have to go back knight f6, and even that doesn't look that bad for me. And actually, I don't even necessarily have to defend the knight against the queen. For example, against queen d3, an option is to castle. And on queen takes knight, I have bishop f5. Yeah, that's pretty annoying for him. Against queen d3, I could also look at queen a5 check, but again, I worry that I will find a way to let knight c7 win stuff. Although if it just wins the exchange, it might not be a big deal at all. Now if my queen is somewhere useful, knight c7 check, king d7, knight a8, rook a8, and I can quickly play rook e8, or maybe. Okay, he castles. Which is responsible. I do have an option to play knight d4 here, and if he plays knight takes d4, to play cd4, and that would give me a precarious passed d pawn, but it would maybe I could land it on c3. Also, it gives me the chance to take on d5 if I want. Here I think I should just castle, actually. Still, bishop d3, I think I can reply with bishop takes d5. Maybe not. It doesn't feel as right because, I mean, then both my knights would be hanging after cd. Knight c3, he might have like queen e1 check or something like that. And okay, I'm going to castle. I don't want my king on the e-file. And I think this kind of just takes care of business. I can consider supporting the e4 knight with a move like f5, but I'm not sure whether or not that's too weakening. That does give me problems on more light squares, but on the other hand, you know, how much is the knight on e4 worth? It's possible that it's worth it. I could have played bishop takes knight immediately. I wonder whether or not I just missed a simple... I had in my mind that I needed to be worried about my king, but bishop takes knight, and whether or not he played cd or queen d, I have knight c3. Well, I still do. So I got rid of white's best piece, the knight on d5. And if I want, I can win the exchange here. But perhaps even scarier for white is maybe I don't want to win the exchange. Now here maybe I'm just going to play knight b4. If the rook moves, it's just stepping into ideas of discovered attacks. Yeah, knight b4. So now I have the choice to take on a2 or take on d5. This is starting to look a little ugly for white. How is he going to coordinate his pieces here? I need to get my rooks in play, and I have to find a good home for my queen. Certainly looks like e8 is the natural square for a rook. Alright, well, he just resigned. So, I don't know, maybe I had the chance to play this bishop takes knight on d5 a move faster than I did. And I'll have to look to see whether or not I missed the chance to do that. I just felt like, oh, I should get my king to safety, but might have missed a shot there. Anyways, thanks for listening, and please forward along any thoughts and suggestions you have. Take care, guys.